Hey everyone, had a little bit of a late start today. Kitty is over here on his own chairs. They're good for him. I fell down a YouTube rabbit hole looking at videos, and I stopped. I had to. Of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I played that game when I was in high school. The first one, well, I guess the Final Fantasy VII. It is such. I was not prepared for the nostalgic vibes I would feel. I'm not kidding. It's a feeling. When the music started playing of like the Lost City and stuff, and I saw Ares there or Aerith, I'm like, holy crap, man! I am really into this. This is awesome. So I might get that. It's freaking $70 on Steam, but I might get it anyway. Maybe. There's so many games I'm playing right now. It's ridiculous. So you gotta give and take. You can only read so many books at the same time. Like right now, I'm reading Gandhi's autobiography before the Veda and the Gita, because I started reading it and I want to finish it. I was reading 4 books at the same time. I'm down to 2. I'm reading that book and I'm reading, hold on, reading this book here called Earth Transformed by William F. Rudiman. It was recommended to me by a person who used to teach climate change. Now, I'm not a denier or an affirmer of climate change, but what I do believe is that anytime a politician tries to use something to scare me, I immediately am skeptical, if not outright rejecting, because one thing that following the character of Christ and aiming toward that would tell you to be is it's both unoffendable and unafraid. The truth is there in that kind of life. And so when a politician tells me, be afraid, we have to stop everything, do everything because I say so, a little hesitant on that. But anyway, Gandhi's autobiography and that. So during the roundabout tour day work today, it is a Friday, which is a glorious thing. Since yesterday, I've been trying to think about elements of the biblical stories that are etched into like every single thing we know. Something about the time that the Bible was written, but they care more about meaning than they do about the actual details, and you can kind of see that with the ancient writings. Meaning was important. I would even argue that unless the elements of story that are in the Bible, and that's kind of where they're mapped, and it's also etched on our hearts, if they are not in another, like the story you're reading or listening to, you won't even care about it. You'll be like, yeah, whatever. Like, it has to rhyme with culture also. The principles of the Judeo-Christian worldview value life itself. That's a good place to start. So there's this anime that I watched when I was in high school. It's called Vash the Stampede. It's an older one. I think it was like 1999. So I think right when I hit 18 is when it came out. And Vash is this character. He's this goofy blonde guy that can like dodge bullets, sees outside of time. It takes place in the western area, and his whole theme of his character is I'm not going to kill anybody. That's his mantra. And but he also has a bounty on his head for like $60 billion double dollars. I guess that's a lot in whatever their currency is. So in this western, he's constantly on the run. People think he's a goofball all the time, and he is. He acts like he is, and he's always smiling. And he gets shot and he gets beat up. He always defends people, and he lets his sense of saving life get the better of him. But he also has like a sense of honor and duty. He watches these two guys duel it out. But he lets them do it, even though he really doesn't want to see anybody die ever. But the thing is, like, calamity happens everywhere around him. The one scene that really gets you, like, it like throws a dagger in the heart. Like, there's this one scene after Vash got, his butt handed to him for the sake of life. Meryl, who is assigned to be his insurance officer and just to follow him around, she walks in on him with his shirt off, and you see the scars he has had to bear. You see, like, there's like a plate over his chest. His right arm is gone. It's like a machine arm. He has scars everywhere, head to toe. Just from the neck up, he happens to be okay. And that's the Christ-like element. That's like bearing your cross on the way to be crucified. Because the other element of the story is there's this character called Knives, who's his twin brother, and he can also like see out of time. But you have Knives, and they have a different mentality. Knives believes that you just need to kill everything to stop the death. It's like the absolutist mantra. And Vash is like, no. And there's this one scene in the beginning of it where there's a butterfly gets caught on a web, and the spider's about to go get it. And Vash is watching in like innocent horror, and then Knives grabs the spider and kills it. And Vash is just like, how could you? It's like, how could conscious life interfere with what was happening? You didn't have to kill it. Both could have lived. And then he's like, well, the spider would have died anyway if it didn't have any food. And Vash has no answer for him, but Vash is viewed as the hero. It's just so awesome because life is precious. And you could say, like, based on yesterday's episode, that Vash's inability to articulate, like the whole progression of it, it's a couple seasons long in the whole Vash the Stampede, is him trying to figure out what he should do. Because he has this mentality, he has this moral base, this moral guideline, but he doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know what he has to do. And finally, when he gets the gumption that he has to confront Knives, and he has to beat him, whatever that looks like. Maybe not kill him, but he has to beat him. When he finally realizes that's what he has to do, and it takes him like all the episodes to figure this out, that's when he can finally have closure in his life. And that's roughly when the series ends. After that happens, I'm not going to spoil the aftermath of it, but it's really interesting, and that's sort of the human element of it too. Because a human element of it is, okay, we're going to have to figure out something to pick up and carry and move around and do with our lives. What is worthy of protecting? And that's something that needs to be like a message to all men. Well, what else is worthy of protecting besides life itself and the flourishing of that life? That seems worthy of protecting. It might die in the end, sure, but we should give it a chance. And then you confront the dark side, which is the other side of you that says it doesn't matter anyway. Now you have to fight that. You have to fight the nihilism that's inside of you. Usually you fight harder the more you've been hurt and the more you've been scarred. Because scars, this is a saying from the Dark Crystal, out of all places. They came out with a series of it. It's Olga. After she comes back from viewing the stars, she says something that really struck me as profound. She says something like, the mind forgets, but scars remember. And I'm like, that's right. Because it's etched into your being. You look at it, it's like a point of reference. Like, I will not forget that. That is painted on me. So that's some of the binding elements that I see outside of my walls. As my kids are growing up, I get to see that on them as well. They're watching Naruto. They're watching We Bare Bears and Adventure Time. I'll probably get a pour into that one because Adventure Time is super cool. A lot of this stuff I do here is kind of off the cuff. So when I start going into like the characters that we've been really delving into, I might actually take some notes and write them down. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care.